Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Woodstock City Council, June 19th, 2025. And I apologize, we're behind schedule. We did have a closed session earlier today, but I start off with this. Hybrid meeting is being held in person here in council chambers and electronically in accordance with section 238, section 3.3. And I'm flashing. Is my microphone going in and out? Thank you, Jeff. This meeting's being live streamed to the city's YouTube channel, and a recording will be posted on the city's website following the meeting. That's better? Yep. An agenda of the meeting can be found on the agendas, meetings, and minutes page of the city's website. Councillor Martin is attending virtually. So councillors attending virtually will be raising their hands in view of their webcam when moving a motion, requesting to speak, or when a vote is being taken. If a member of council is disconnected or having technical difficulties, we will take a recess in order to attempt to rectify the issue. If technical difficulties exist that prevent the meeting from continuing, the meeting will be adjourned and reconvened at a later time. If a councillor attending virtually needs to leave the meeting at any time, they are to inform the clerk. Councillor Martin will be reading the resolutions this evening. Okay, as I mentioned, we did have a closed meeting. We started at 6:31 this evening, and then we ended that at about 5 minutes to 7. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest? Seeing none. Any disclosures of new business? Seeing none. Matters arising from the minutes? And now the minutes. Councillor Martin?
Thank you, Mayor Accioni. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Schadenberg that the minutes of the regular meeting of Woodstock City Council held on June 5th, 2025 be adopted.
Thank you. Any questions or concerns with that? I'll call a vote. All those in favor? None opposed. That is carried. Next, we have additions to the agenda. Councillor Martin.
Thank you, Mayor Accioni. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Lauder that the following items be added to the agenda. Delegation item 8.C, Manny Chahan, ZNH-25-03, application for zone change, 62 Frederick Street.
Thank you. Any questions or concerns with that? All those in favor? None opposed. That is carried. Now that brings us to some presentations this evening, and I'm going to come to the floor for those. Well, welcome everyone. We are here this evening to honor and congratulate 5 very deserving students from high schools right across our city. And I'd like to name them really quickly. Maria Eduardo Dunaz Delveco from St. Mary's High School. And I'm going to apologize right now. My last name's Accioni, so I get the sometimes a little difficult to pronounce. Sage Hahar from Huron Park Secondary School. Chloe Knoll from Woodstock Collegiate Institute. Elaine Mbambo Pembe from École Secondaire Catholic Notre Dame, and Mariam Sadiku from College Ave Secondary School. These 5 young students have worked diligently throughout their high school career to take top honors at their respective schools. They have excelled in their studies, but have also grown as individuals. They've learned through adversity that hard work and success come hand in hand. They've also learned the value of volunteerism and community service, giving them insight into the importance of helping others and the great personal rewards received by doing so. They are eager and prepared to take the next steps in their journey. In the fall of 2025, they'll be attending their school and program of choice. Maria Denez Navalco will be attending the University of Western Ontario in the Life Sciences program. Sage Hiar will be attending McMaster University in the Physics and Chemistry Gateway program. Chloe Knoll will be attending Queen's University in the Engineer program. Elaine Mobambo Pembe will be attending Conestoga College in the Interior Design program. And Miriam Sadiku will be attending Carleton University in the Bachelor of Architecture Engineering program. On behalf of the Woodstock City Council and the citizens of Woodstock, I'm very proud to present, and I'm going to call you up one at a time if I may. Maria Eduardo Denez Naleco. Please welcome. Now, if families would like to come forward and take a photo, don't be shy. You're more than welcome to if you'd like. Okay, congratulations. Yep, yep, please. Please, welcome. Yeah. Good, better. Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Well done. Next, Sage Hilhar. Congratulations. You're more than welcome to come forward and take a photo if you'd like. Yeah. Nice to meet you. Congratulations. Nice to meet you as well. Yeah. Welcome. Yeah, here we go. Perfect. Thank you. Congratulations. Thank you. Thank you. Congratulations. Next up, yeah, I like how she's just staying at the end now. Thank you. Chloe Knoll. I can see the resemblance there. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Want to take a photo? Congratulations. Proper hello. Come on in. We don't bite. Come on in. Yeah, come on in. Yeah, however you like. We get everybody in here. Congratulations. Good to see you. Elaine Mambombo Pembe. Congratulations. How's everyone? Good, good. Congratulations. Definitely not least, Miriam Sadiku.
Thank you so much.
Don't bite. Please, welcome.
Thank you.
Congratulations
so much.
again. Thank you. I'd just like to say another final congratulations to all 5 students Again, I apologize if I didn't say the names correctly. I wanted to get down here a little bit earlier. It just didn't work out. So, but congratulations. There is $1,000 check on behalf of Woodstock City Council for each one of these students. So congratulations to everyone. Now that brings us to our delegations. And I'd like to welcome Christine Scrimmager for the 2024 draft financial statements. Welcome.
Thank you. All right, I believe you have the draft financial statements in your packages. Sorry, are we gonna, do you need me to do, I don't,
Why don't we just pause for half a second?
I was gonna say.
Yeah. Thanks, everybody, for being here tonight. Don't forget to come back to the city of Woodstock when you're done your schooling, please. Thank you.
I won't take that personally.
Yeah.
Future of Woodstock looks bright. All right, so they are we okay? Financial statements? I don't see them anywhere. No. It's all right, I can just talk about them.
Would you like one put up?
It's up
You can
to
have
you.
Jeff put that up.
Is it easier for people if I might be? Okay, you can catch up to me. All right, that's great. All right, these are the draft audited financial statements for the year ended December 31st, 2024. It is what's called a clean auditor's opinion, meaning that I did not find anything materially incorrect. And it is dated as of today's date under Canadian auditing standards. Those charged with governance, which would be this council, needs to approve them, and then they can be finalized. The last step will be filing the FIR with the province, which I know it's ready to go. So just waiting for these to be approved to accompany them. All right. We'll move forward to the numbers. If I'm going to just do a presentation on at a high level, but if you have any specific questions, please don't hesitate to ask me, and hopefully I can give you the answers that you're looking for. So your consolidated statement of financial position, your balance sheet, and I'll do the presentation I always do, but I go down to the number at the net financial assets line. So you'll see in 2023 that amount was just under 64 million. This year it is 88 million. And there is a significant increase there, obviously. So that would be the amount of money that the city would have in their bank account if everyone paid you what they owed you and you paid off all of your debt. Obviously, that's not a position that ever actually happens, but that's really what that line represents. And the increase mainly is the sale of a significant amount of industrial land this past year, and that those proceeds moved over to a reserve, which we'll see, a reserve fund, which we'll see in a few minutes, and was not part of the general surplus as such. It's obviously stipulated for that purpose. Everything below that line are your assets that you need to have in place in order to provide the services you do, water, wastewater, roads, and buildings, and various facilities. The other next sort of indicator, financial indicator that I look at is if you are reinvesting in your capital assets, at least equal to what your amortization is. And in fact, if you take the lines called tangible capital assets plus capital work in progress, there has been about a $17 million increase there. And adding to the amortization of 11 million, that's really a net investment of 28 million this year. So significant amount of new construction and facilities completed in the year. The next indicator that I look at is obviously your debt. How much did you have to go in debt to do this? And there was some new debt this year, but it certainly is not to the tune of the 28 million that we reinvested in. And the last thing I look at is where your reserve and reserve fund balances. Are you depleting those in order to do this? And we'll get to that in a minute, but those reserve and reserve fund balances have increased significantly, but they have, the ones that are stipulated for construction and capital assets have retained their value through the year. So all of those are financial indicators of stability and reinvestment at a good growth rate. Any questions on that statement at all? All right, we'll move forward to the statement of operations and accumulated surplus. This is really where we see that industrial land and the numbers that come out of that. So we have the budget for 2024 is approved by council, the actual for 2024, and then the actual for 2023 columns. You'll see there in the actual for 2024, significant increase from the budget. Two reasons for that. One being that industrial land sales were in over the budgeted amount by about $7 million. And then you'll also see investment income has increased. That's really your reserve fund balance increase. Obviously then results in significant interest, more interest being earned. And that money then is moved over to the reserve fund. So again, not part of the general surplus, but part of the reserve fund balances. Under expenditures, the total expenditures, would appear to be about $19 million over budget. That's not the case because that includes 11 million of amortization, which is not a budgeted item because it's not a cash flow item. And then about $8 million of costs related to those land sales. So obviously we put services in and things like that in order to provide order to make that land saleable. And so that those costs are in that 10 million under planning and development versus a $3 million budget. All of that to say the excess of revenue over expenditures before other, we last year it was just 1.8 million basically, and this year it's almost 29 million, and almost all of that is that net land sale revenue that, or the increase is almost all that net sale. Anything under that line are the revenues that we receive for capital type projects. And I'll just comment on the donated capital line, which we don't have a budget for. That is simply the land, any assumed subdivisions that we have through the year. We assume the capital assets that that developer put into place, and they then become the responsibility of the city to provide the service for those. Coming down to the accumulated surplus of 347 million this year. Any questions on that statement?
Just so you're aware, it's online now.
Oh, perfect. That's the
Okay.
trust
If
fund
there's
one,
something,
but we, sure.
good. It's the wrong one.
It's okay.
Okay.
Don't worry. We'll just keep going.
Keep going.
Hopefully I'm covering the main points anyway, and you'll be able to follow along. The next statement is your consolidated statement of cash flows. This just shows the increases and decreases of the non-cash items on the balance sheet. And as you can see, the larger numbers are all related to capital, which you would expect given the amount of capital reinvestment that we had this current year. The financing activities, that's where you see the new debt, about 3/4 of the way down the page. So new debt of about 3.6 million, and we paid off almost 2 million, so an increase of about 1.6 million. Coming down to the cash at the end of the year. The next statement is a statement of changes in net financial assets, which really just is a snapshot of what's happened in the capital asset area. So amortization, as I've mentioned before, 11 million, and then a reinvestment of 34 million, which is that net plus the change in capital work in progress. So an awful lot of activity happening in this past year. We then get to the notes to the financial statements. I won't go through every single note. I do want to highlight the note number 10, which is a breakdown of that accumulated surplus that that I've been talking about. So your city operating surplus was just under $3 million. And then as you can see, the rest of your surplus really is invested in tangible capital assets, which I've talked about. And then this is where I was talking about that the reserves and reserve funds have stayed stable. The reserves are just up about $500,000. Reserve funds increase about 29 million. And again, most of that increase is the sale of the industrial lands. There is also in your package a copy of the trust fund financial statement. Council approved closing some of those trust funds because they did not meet the definition of a trust fund. And so we've moved those over, and that is also part of the reason the reserve funds have increased, is because those uh, uh, previously trust funds are now in the reserve funds, but are still recorded separately and retaining the interest on that money. That's my presentation, unless there's any specific questions.
Thank you. Any questions of council? Seeing none.
I have one more thing to say.
Okay.
You probably thought I might. She's not here tonight. I actually called her before I got here to see if she was going to be here, and she's not, obviously. But I just want to thank Diane Campbell for all of her years of service, both for the city, but also in helping us get the audit done each year. She is one very dedicated woman, and I can't think of a time on a weekend or at nights when I needed some answers where she was not working. This doesn't say a lot about my life either, but anyway, she's certainly, and a funny story, just briefly, she is probably one of the few municipalities in the province of Ontario to want to get her FIR in by the May 31st deadline. Very few, some of the really small municipalities make that deadline. Very few of the size of the city of Woodstock or larger would ever even attempt that. So that says a lot about her dedication and her need to follow the rules for sure. So anyway, and looking forward to working with Stephanie and all of what she brings to the city in the future.
Thank you, because we all appreciate you saying that, because we all feel the exact same way. Ms. Campbell was excellent, but Stephanie will, big shoes to fill. And we're very excited to see those filled. So thank you.
And also it's not just Diana, it's obviously all of her staff. A
Of
couple of
course.
whom are sitting back here, so I just want to thank them as well, because they make our audit process very much simpler than it could be.
Thank you.
I guess I need to hear their approval.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Looking
Back to
for-
work.
Yeah. If there's no questions, looking for a motion on the floor. Councillor Leathermore.
Moved by myself that the 2024 draft consolidated financial statements for the City of Woodstock and the 2024 City of Woodstock draft trust funds statements as prepared by Scrimgore and Company, CPA Professional Corporation, and presented on June 19th, 2025 be approved.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Councillor Wismer Van Meer. Discussion or questions? I'll call the vote. All those in favor? None opposed. That
Thank
is
you.
carried.
Nice
Thank
to
you
see
so
you.
much. Next up, 8B, we have Carolyn Baker for extension of draft approved plan of subdivision for 763 Athlone Ave, attending virtually. Welcome.
Good evening to Mayor, members of council. Caroline Baker from Baker Planning Group. Sorry I couldn't be there this evening with you in person. I'm really just here in case there's any questions from Mr. Miller's presentation, which I believe is coming up in a few minutes, related to a draft plan of subdivision extension. Noting, of course, that the owners are probably weeks away from registration. They're just fulfilling the final conditions of that approval. So certainly if there's any questions, happy to answer now or later at the wish of council. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions of the council right now? Seeing none? Okay, thank you. No resolutions required, as this refers to consideration of planning reports, item 9A as mentioned. Next up, we have 8C, Manny Chewin. If he's online.
He is not.
He is not online, so we will move along this item. No resolutions also required, as this refers to consideration of planning reports, item 9D, for those following along at home. Which brings us to consideration of planning reports. 9A, 763 Athlone Avenue. Mr. Miller, welcome.
Good evening, council, staff, members of the public. SB 18118 in the name of Sierra Construction and Woodstock Limited. The subject lands are described as Part Lot 30, Plan 1600, and Part Lot 11, Plan 1613, Parts 2 and 3, 41R, 8194 in the city of Woodstock. The lands are bound by Juliana Drive to the north and Athlone Avenue to the east, and are municipally known as 763 Athlone Avenue. Staff received a request to extend approval of a mixed-use residential and business park draft plan of subdivision that was granted approval on April 13th, 2022, and lapsed on April 13th, 2025. Said draft plan subdivision proposes the creation of one multi-residential block, 3 business park blocks, 1 park block, 1 stormwater management block, and a new residential street. The applicant is requesting an extension of the draft approved plan of subdivision to allow for additional time to continue to work through the conditions of draft approval. The applicants have satisfied conditions related to detailed engineering design and utilities and are currently working on final revisions to the subdivision plan. The applicants expect to register the subdivision within 1 month, but have requested an extension of 1 year from the previous lapsing date of April 13th, 2025. I spoke with the city's special projects engineer today, just ask kind of what was outstanding, and he said they're literally just working on the subdivision agreement, those aspects of it. So most things are done. They probably will be registered within the next week or two, as Caroline said. So as required by the Planning Act, the applicant has provided a sworn affidavit confirming that an agreement has not been entered into for the sale of the land subject to draft approval, and staff are of the opinion that the necessary criteria have been met to utilize section 5.5133 in the Planning Act. Planning staff are satisfied that the applicant is actively working on fulfilling conditions of draft plan approval to facilitate registration of the proposed subdivision in a timely manner, and the requested extension will permit the applicant the opportunity to finalize the remaining conditions of draft approval. Planning staff are recommending that a 1-year extension to the draft approval be granted to permit the applicant the opportunity to address the remaining conditions. As such, staff recommend that the city approve a 1-year extension of the draft approval for the plan of subdivision expiring April 13th, 2026.
Thank you. Any questions of the planner? Seeing none, I'll ask for a motion. Counselor Lauder,
Thank you. I'll move that Woodstock City Council approve a 1-year extension of the draft approval for the plan of subdivision expiring April 13th, 2026, file SB 18-11-8, as submitted by Sierra Construction Woodstock Limited for the lands described as Part Lot 30, Plan 1600, and Part Lot 11, Plan 1613, Parts 2 and 3, 41R 8194, being municipally known as 763 Athlone Avenue in the city of Woodstock, and further that any comments received from the public were reviewed and considered before the decision was made in relation to this planning matter.
thank you. Seconded by Counselor Wismer Van Meer. Discussion or questions? Counselor Schanberg.
Yeah, sure. Just likely a comment to sort of say it's nice to be able to see this vacant land getting produced for residential purposes, because we're certainly stressed by anything to do with in our current boundaries to be able to reassess it and not, well, reassessing is the wrong word, but refocus it and change the use for it. So this is a retired aggregates lot to be able to made into a residential area, I think is ideal, and it's good to give them the continuation to do that project.
Yes, I agree. Anyone else? Seeing none, I'll call a vote. All those in favor? None opposed. That is carried. Next up, 9B, B 25-18-A, 132 Dover Street. Mr. Miller.
Good evening. Application 25-18-8 in the name of Denise Houseworth. The subject lands are described as Part Lot 14, Plan 213, as in 458207 in the city of Woodstock. The lands are located on the west side of Dover Street, north of Walter Street and Parkinson Road, and are municipally known as 132 Dover Street. The subject lands are designated low-density residential in the county's official plan and are zoned R2 in the city's zoning bylaw. The purpose of the application is to sever a vacant lot into two separate lots for the purposes of establishing a single detached dwelling on each lot. The lands were previously occupied by a single detached dwelling, which was demolished in 2024 after extensive damages occurred due to a house fire. With respect to the PPS, the proposal is consistent with the intensification, redevelopment, and housing policies as the application is considered an efficient use of land and municipal infrastructure within a service settlement area, provides for a diversity of housing types, and represents appropriate density for new housing that makes efficient use of existing municipal services. With respect to the relevant policies of the official plan for low-density residential areas, staff are of the opinion that the proposal can be characterized as an appropriate street-oriented infill development and intensification that is supported by the official plan. This area of the city is characterized by a variety of lot sizes and built forms, including infill developments, townhouses, single detached dwellings, and semi-detached dwellings, and the proposed lot to be severed and proposed lot to be retained will not be out of character or inconsistent with the surrounding area. Staff is of the opinion that the proposed lot configurations are reasonable and will provide an adequate building envelope for single detached dwellings on lot to be severed and retained. Planning staff are of the opinion that the proposed severance is a form of street-oriented infill and is consistent with the policy direction of the PPS and the official plan and can be supported from a planning perspective, subject to the recommended conditions in the report 1 through 6. As such, the staff recommend that the council advise the Land Division Committee that the city supports application B 25-18-8, subject to the following conditions.
Thank you. Any questions of the planner? Seeing none, I'll look for a motion. Councillor Wismer Van Meer.
Moved by myself that Woodstock City Council advise the Land Division Committee that the city supports application B 25-18-8 submitted by Denise Houseworth for lands described as Part Lot 14, PL 213 as in 458207 in the city of Woodstock to create a new residential infill lot subject to conditions 1 through 6 outlined in the report.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Tate. Discussion or questions? Seeing none. All those in favor? None opposed. That is carried. Next up, 9C, 140 Ferguson Drive, ZN 8-25-04. Mr. Miller.
ZN 8-25-04 in the name of Z Modular Homes Woodstock, Inc. The subject lands are legally described as Plan 1613, Part Lot 10, Registered Plan 41R 3678, Parts 1, 2, and 23 in the city of Woodstock. The lands front onto the west side of Ferguson Drive on the southwest corner of Parkinson Road and Ferguson Drive and are municipally known as 140 Ferguson Drive. The subject lands are designated high-density residential in the county's official plan and are zoned R3 in the city's zoning bylaw. The application for zone change proposes to rezone the subject lands from special residential type 4, R49, to residential type 3 to recognize a conditionally approved application for consent, B2485-8. The boundary adjustment was conditionally approved on April 3rd, 2025 and provides a 3.8 meter deep strip of land that in front of an existing apartment on 550 Parkinson that is currently paved and provides access to a small parking area to the south of the building. So if you look at plate 2 up there, you can see where the location of the boundary adjustment is in red. If you can see on the south side of that existing building, that's sort of like a flattened S shape, there's a laneway there. This boundary adjustment gives them the legal ownership to be able to access that laneway. As the proposal will promote an efficient use of existing infrastructure, a mix and range of housing, planning staff are satisfied that the proposed development is consistent with the policies of section 2.2.1 of the PPS with respect to residential uses within a designated settlement area. The boundary adjustment provides an area strip of land to an adjoining and existing apartment development. The transfer of land reflects the existing use of the subject lands and provides ownership to an existing laneway and development. The rezoning is not associated with any new physical development and is required to have the severed and benefiting lands consistently zoned. Planning staff are satisfied that the proposal is consistent with the policies of the PPS. It meets the general intent and purpose of the official plan respecting residential uses within high and medium density residential designations and can be given favorable consideration. As such, staff recommend approval of the application.
Thank you. Any questions of the planner? Seeing none? Oh, question, or are you looking for a motion? Okay, Counselor Tate for a motion.
I'll move that Woodstock City Council approve the application for zone change for lands described as Plan 1613, Part Lot 1041R-3678, Parts 1, 2, and 23 in the city of Woodstock to rezone the subject property from Special Residential Zone 4 to Residential Zone 3 to facilitate a conditionally approved boundary adjustment on the subject lands, and further that any comments received from the public were reviewed and considered before the decision was made in relation to this planning matter.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Counselor Schattenberg? Discussion or questions? Seeing none? We'll call the vote. All those in favor? None opposed. That is carried. And the last one for tonight, 9DZN 8-25-03 for 62 Frederick Street.
ZN 8-2503 in the name of Kent. The subject lands are described as Part Block B, Plan 179, Part 1, 41R, 9164 in the city of Woodstock. The property is located on the southeast side of Frederick Street between Van Sittert Ave and Piddock Park Road and is municipally known as 62 Frederick Street. The subject, hate it when that pops up. The subject lands are designated low-density residential in the official plan and are currently zoned Special Residential Zone 1, R113, and are proposed to be rezoned to Special Residential Zone 2, R244. The applicant is proposing to rezone the subject lands to facilitate the construction of a semi-detached dwelling with additional residential units. The applicant has requested a minimum frontage of 8.3 meters, where the R2 zone requires a minimum frontage of 9 meters. Minimum frontage requirements are established to ensure that sufficient space is provided for a building envelope for the proposed development. In this case, the applicant has provided a sketch showing the proposed semi-detached dwelling on the subject lands with the requested frontage. Further, the reduction is a minor departure from the zone provision and is similar to developments previously supported and approved within the city. The applicant has also requested a minimum side yard width of 2.8 meters. Minimum side yard widths are intended to ensure that sufficient space is provided for access and normal maintenance of the rear yard. 3 meter side yards in attached semi-detached dwellings are specifically intended to provide off-street parking opportunities where dwellings do not have garages or carports. The applicant has shown garages on his sketch, which are also required to provide the necessary parking for ARUs. Thus, the alternative minimum side yard is not required. Where dwellings have attached garages or carports, the minimum side yard width is 1.2 meters. Further, the applicant has requested an increased parking area of 65.6% of a front or exterior side yard used for a parking area. This coverage is requested to accommodate extra parking space for intended ARUs. Where ARUs are not present, the maximum coverage for a parking area is 50%. Where ARUs are present, the maximum coverage is 65%. Maximum parking area provisions are intended to ensure that adequate space for grading, drainage, and servicing is provided in the front yard. It is also intended to provide opportunities for off-street parking and attractive streetscaping. Staff are satisfied that the requested 65.6% is a minor departure from the zone provisions for dwellings with ARUs, and minimal negative impacts are expected from the increased driveway width to accommodate the required parking for the proposed additional residential units. Planning staff are satisfied that the proposal is consistent with the policies of the PPS and meets the general intent and purpose of the official plan. As such, staff are of the opinion that the application can be given favorable consideration, and staff recommend approval of the application.
Thank you. Any questions of the planner? Seeing none, I'll look for a motion on the floor. Counselor Martin.
Thank you. That Woodstock City Council approve the application for lands described as Part Block B, Plan 179, Part 1, 41R-9164 in the city of Woodstock to rezone the subject property from Special Residential Zone 1, R113 to Special Residential Zone 2, R244 to facilitate the construction of a semi-detached dwelling and additional residential units. And further, that any comments received from the public were reviewed and considered before the decision was made in relation to this planning matter.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Counselor Lauder? Any other further questions or discussion? Seeing none? Oh, Counselor Schattenberg?
I know once again, my hand is up late. Just a comment I'd like to make to the mayor through to council. Just in general about the additional residential units and the fact that I'm going to vote in favor of this, but not liking the idea that we've gone to 65% coverage for parking in the front. But then, of course, the reverse on that right away is then suddenly there's not enough parking. What I'd always like the front of properties or frontage of properties that not have any more than 50% of parking. And that's more to do with drainage and letting the rainwater go into the ground and not to asphalt parking lots. But nonetheless, I will be supporting this.
Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All those in favor? None opposed. That is carried. No consideration of correspondence this evening, so that brings us to presentations from staff and approved agents. I'd like to welcome Basil Agram, Manager of Asset Management, to give us the 2025 updated asset management plan. Welcome.
I don't know. Give it a second to wait.
Jeff, are you pulling that up? Please?
It's up on my side, so.
Oh, there it is. Okay, we see it now. Thank you.
So good evening, council. Tonight I'll be briefly going over some of the highlights of the 2025 asset management plan and how it provides line of sight for the overall asset management program, as well as the city's approach to asset management. To understand what asset management is, we need to understand what sustainable service delivery is. And sustainable service delivery is the process of providing services to the community in a way that supports economic, social, and environmental well-being, both for current and for future generations. It goes well beyond just simply replacing aging infrastructure. Instead, it involves making informed strategic decisions that balance service delivery, risk management, and life cycle cost reductions. And council plays a vital role as stewards of the city's assets, and every decision that they make impacts the quality and the reliability of services, the risks associated with those services, and the long-term costs of maintaining them. These decisions help shape the city's future and ensure that these services remain sustainable. So what's the role of asset management in all of this? It's how the city oversees and maintains its infrastructure, and it's the integrated business approach aimed at minimizing the life cycle costs of assets while maximizing the service benefit for current and for future generations. Effective asset management ensures that infrastructure continues to meet community needs today and into the future. It's the desired outcome of any asset management program. So now to kind of break it down a little bit more of a personal level, every single one of us here practices asset management, whether we realize it or not. When you fix a leak in the roof of your home to kind of prevent further damage down the road or more costly repair, that's asset management. When you perform proactive maintenance on your vehicle to prolong its service life, that's asset management. When you plan for any major household expense, guess what? That's asset management. So every one of those things is done to ensure that what we own is maintained to a standard that's acceptable to us and in the most cost-effective manner. Now, if we apply these same principles to city-owned infrastructure, it would go along the lines of something like this: repairing a leak in a roof of a recreational facility to prevent damage on the turf or the flooring, asset management. Sealing cracks in a road to prevent seasonal freeze and thaw that could create potholes and cause further damage. That's asset management. So you'll see that asset management is interlinked with pretty much everything that we do on a day-to-day basis. So some of the benefits of asset management, again, it's the regulatory compliance. We're governed by OREG 58817. And by ensuring that we're compliant, it opens us up to eligibility to grant funding, both at the provincial and the federal levels of government. And we're seeing more and more funding tied to having an approved asset management plan, and knowing what assets are included in that project to be eligible to that funding, and making sure that they're included into the asset management plan. And with that, it allows us to have an effective and meaningful long-term policy. Asset management is and should be the driving force of the capital budget. The asset management plan is a living document. And with any meaningful policy, it's built with the future in mind, with the goal of being proactive as opposed to being reactive. And by being proactive, it allows us to achieve financial sustainability. It allows the city to strategize its financial planning, to manage fluctuations and minimize overall risk, while also ensuring levels of service don't suffer. So to kind of speak a little bit about the regulation that this asset management plan is governed by is OREG 58817, and it provided some kind of key deadlines for municipalities. So I know I've gone over this slide, I think, multiple times over the last couple of years, but just for the council's and the public's benefit, I'll just kind of briefly go over it and how the city's achieved every phase of the regulation. May of 2019, council approved the strategic asset management policy that provided a framework for implementing asset management within the city. June of 2022, council approved the city's first in-house iteration of the asset management plan, and this asset management plan focused on core infrastructure and the current levels of service for providing that core infrastructure. This means, what are we achieving now? June of 2024, so last year, council approved the updated 2024 asset management plan, and that built on the previous plan and defined current levels of service for all infrastructure, core and non-core. As well, at the same time, council approved an update to the strategic asset management policy that expanded key definitions and incorporated natural assets into it. And now tonight, the 2025 asset management plan again builds on the previous plan, and this time sets proposed levels of service across all infrastructure. So what proposed levels of service means, it means, what do we want to achieve? Can we achieve it? And can we afford it? Beginning of 2026, so starting next year, council will start receiving annual status updates on the city's progress in implementing the 2025 asset management plan, as well as any factors impeding its ability to implement and a strategy to address those factors. And then moving forward, both the strategic asset management policy and the asset management plan will need to be updated beginning in 2030 and every 5 years after that. So here are some of the key takeaways from the 2025 asset management plan. The city's assets have a combined current replacement value of just over $1.05 billion. So what that means is it would cost the city just over $1 billion should it find itself in a scenario where it needs to replace all of its assets today. This is about a 55% increase from last year's plan, and the primary driver of this increase is our facilities. Late last year, we conducted building condition assessments on just about all of our facilities. And the key takeaway from those reports was that we were significantly undervaluing our facilities. And when you undervalue an asset, you cannot effectively plan for the future. And this ties into the average condition of the city's assets, and it's found to be in the fair to good range. A big push has been to move away from age-based assessments into assessed condition assessments. And an asset could still be in good condition, but if nobody knows that it's in good condition or there are no assessments done on it, the system will flag it as poor and it will schedule it for replacement, and it'll throw off the entire financial strategy. So it's always key to have good data. So the city's overall maturity level with respect to this is intermediate. Again, and there's a lot of work that's being done to improve the data confidence of the asset management program. And then the current average annual funding gap, or the infrastructure gap, sits at about $10.8 million. And this is based on the approved 2025 budget. And it's important to note that this gap strictly focuses on the state of good repair. And this is to achieve proposed levels of service. So now if we kind of expand that 1.05 billion, we'll see that the city's portfolio is made up of 7 service areas: transportation, stormwater, corporate facilities, transit, recreation and culture, natural assets, and corporate fleet. With the bulk being made up of transportation and stormwater coming at 54%, recreation and culture at 30%, and corporate facilities at 10%. A new service area that was introduced this year was transit, and previously it was split between corporate facilities and corporate fleet, but we've decided to pull that out and kind of give it its own dedicated service area. So if we kind of think back to sustainable service delivery, we know that asset management involves a continuous cycle of 3 major processes: assessing asset management practices and the state of the assets, planning what needs to be done to improve asset management, and implementing those plans. So look at asset management as an infinite loop. You've assessed your asset management practices. We've built out our condition assessments. We've seen what the state of the infrastructure is. You've planned on what needs to be done to improve asset management, hence tonight's asset management plan. And now you're going to begin to implement the asset management plan and measure your progress 2026 onwards. But now you have to reassess. You need to check and see if what we're doing makes sense and if we need to improve. And then that's how you get into that constant loop of continuous improvement. Data confidence is a major component of the city's asset management program. Garbage in is going to equal garbage out. If our data confidence is not strong, the quality of the decisions that we can make cannot be equally as strong. A high data confidence means that the decisions you make will be sound and accurate, and then a low data confidence means that the decisions you make will be poor and subject to a lot of variables. This is why, again, there's been a big push on condition assessments across all service areas. And to kind of wrap things up a little bit, the next step include the approval of the 2025 asset management plan. And by approving the asset management plan, council is approving its use during budget deliberations as supporting documentations. I do want to stress that approval of tonight's plan does not have any immediate financial implications. And I know I touched on this a little earlier. Beginning next year, council will receive annual updates on the asset management progress and any factors impeding the ability to implement the plan, as well as strategies to address those factors. And then starting 2030 and every 5 years after that, a large major update to the asset management plan. And with that, I'll kind of conclude my presentation and open up if there's any questions.
Well, thank you. Any questions from council? Councilor Lauder.
This is kind of a question and a comment. So first of all, I'd like to thank Basil for the excellent report and presentation. After reading and dissecting each of the areas of the AMP, I certainly am concerned with the gaps in each category that we have that we have to meet over the next 10 years to maintain the same level of the service we have come to expect. For the public's, Basil, could you expand on the financial structure? As I read it, we are meeting approximately 60% of the required funding, now at 14.2 million. The gap is an additional 9.6%. To meet that, we should be funding each year for the next 10 years, and this does not include any growth. Could you just explain a little bit of that for the public, please?
Through the chair to the councilor's question. So the 14.2 million, I believe it was, is the committed funding on average that we're estimating for the next 10 years. So that 9.6 million gap is the gap for the next 10 years between what needs to be done and what we have funded. I think I mentioned the 10.8 million. So the difference between that 10.8 and that 9.6 is the 10.8 is to ensure asset performance in perpetuity. So it's looking beyond the 10 years. A lot of assets don't need to be replaced within the next 10 years. Big ones are, again, bridges and large facilities. Those ones are not in a 10 to 20 year cycle. They're larger in the 72 and plus year cycle. So that's why there's a little bit of a discrepancy. But again, yeah, 9.6 is what we would need on average every year to fund proposed levels of service across all service areas.
Thank you. Also, could you tell me if a substantial amount of this would be coming from from taxation, or would be other funding that you have mentioned, of course?
So that funding gap would be up to council to decide how they would kind of close it. Taxation is an obvious one, but there are possibilities of outside funding sources, the provincial, federal levels. So part of an asset management program is to try to explore all avenues of funding. So taxation, grant funding, and so on is an option.
Okay. So today I just received my letter of my taxes for this year. And so my assessment is 266,000. I know this hasn't anything to do with you, but the increase was $256.86. So just a warning to the people that this is coming out, and have a good look at what your increase is. So thank you for this.
Any questions, Councillor Schanberg?
Yeah, from the mayor through to Mr. Agram. First of all, thanks for your report. People should know that 14.B.1 on the agenda is actually 115 pages long. That goes into more in-depth information. But to make things go a full circle, when it comes time to doing our capital budget for 2026, do you have meetings therefore with the engineering department to sort of say, this is a priority, that's a priority? Or do they actually look at your report and do the numbers from there as far as capital projects in the future?
So through the chair to the councillor's question, so I'm based out of the engineering department, so we're in constant communication of what needs to be done and priority shifting. So we do meet on a regular basis throughout the engineering department, but I am a part of the budget discussion.
Just maybe a comment from that, from the asset management program, and I like the fact that you said it was a driving force of the capital budget to have a well-tuned asset management program. And a couple of weeks ago, I asked you for an assessment of some of the streets in Woodstock. And I know the streets is just one thing. It's not bridges, it's not the fleet vehicles, it's not this building, for example, just certain streets. And two or three of them came up as being really quite old and in desperate need of infrastructure improvement. So I would really hope that they would be top priority in the future when we come to spending money on some of those streets. I won't name them, but we're certainly thanking you for giving me that report on the age of some of the aging streets in Woodstock. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, seeing none, no resolution is required as this refers to department report item 14B1. Thank you very much. And that brings us to the next item, and I'm going to be asking Acting Mayor Wismer Van Meer to take the chair so I can come down to the podium and present the Mayor's Community and Social Wellbeing Task Force report presentation. Okay to proceed?
Yes, please proceed.
Thank you. It's certainly a different perspective. I can't think of a time that a mayor's ever come down and done a presentation from the podium. So I thank Acting Mayor for taking the role and allowing me to do this, because this is quite something near and dear to myself. Well, first off, good evening, my fellow council members, and to those residents here in in attendance, as well as all the staff that is here. And of course, those watching from home, either live or on the city's YouTube channel. My vision in 2022 was a task force dedicated to enhancing our community's social well-being. This vision was driven by the need to address pressing social issues and improve the quality of life for all residents of Woodstock. And when I was successfully ran for mayor, I knew it needed to become a reality as soon as possible. The Mayor's Social Wellbeing Task Force was officially established in early 2023 by unanimous decision of a motion of council, and I'm still very grateful to this day for that. This marked the beginning of something that has never been done before here at the city level. It's a true collaborative effort to tackle various social challenges. And I should note Councillors Leatherborough and Acting Mayor Wismer Van Meer both sit on the task force with us and with me, and I appreciate all their inputs over the last couple of years. Actually, some of the purposes and goals before we move along to the next slide is collaboration. Partnering with Safe and Well Oxford and other community organizations to leverage their expertise and resources. This collaboration aims to create a unified approach to addressing social issues. Our focus area on key areas such as housing, mental health, safety, and addiction. These areas were clearly identified based on community needs and feedback. With flexibility, task force is designed to adapt, be very flexible, and respond to emerging community needs, ensuring that our efforts remain relative, but also effective. Next slide. Task force priorities. The task force has identified 3 clear priorities that are needed here in the city of Woodstock and all discussed at our regular meetings. We'll start off with the obvious one, the priority 1 being homelessness and encampments. Developing a coordinated response to ensuring the safety of individuals living in encampments and facilitating their transition to stable housing has been and will continue to be a top priority of this task force. The task force encampment response team is a key initiative that is a first for the city. You will learn more about this first priority that are recognized and addressed more in the presentation and hear directly from Rita Horan, one of our key supervisors of the City Parks and Forestry, as well as Stephen Miller, our manager of bylaw enforcement, both proving to be extremely important to the successes we've seen in a relatively short time. As well, I'm proud to have Rebecca Smith, Director of Human Services from Oxford County, as well as Tim Dukes, Director of Operations Sharing here tonight, as our main focus for tonight's task force updates, and I'll call them up as needed. Now, I should note, especially for those watching at home, there is a financial ask of the task force funds for $20,000 for waste tipping fees, as you'll see in item 15A under special committee and advisory task force requests a little later on in tonight's agenda. The next item is food insecurity, implementing initiatives to ensure that no one in our community goes hungry. This includes partnerships with local food banks and community kitchens. It's hard to believe anyone here in Oxford County should be hungry with access to such amazing fresh food surrounding our city. This is geared at anyone that needs a helping hand to feed themselves or their family. Just of note, I've been actively working with a newly formed group here in city called the Food Rescue Hub. And you'll learn even more soon, as there is a future ask from City Council coming that has been discussed and presented at our last Mayor's Task Force meeting. They will be coming and presenting themselves, so I'll leave it at this for tonight, as we're going to learn a lot more in the future. Last and certainly not least, youth is our third identified priority. Looking at creating programs to support and engage our younger population, providing them with opportunities for growth and development. Council just authorized restarting of the city's Youth Advisory Committee that has become very active quickly within the last few months. Last month, we had Youth Week and other activities approved right here in the council. The task force was also involved in the fairly recent exciting announcement from the provincial government of being awarded the funding through Welkins for Woodstock's own Brightside Youth Hub being developed currently. I'll also note you'll see a current ask for $5,000 for Southwest Public Health and Planet Youth that I'd like to quickly touch on. It's listed as an ask in section 15A in tonight's meeting. Planet Youth Coalition overview. Community collaborative involves partners like the United Way and Southwest Public Health. Their administrative hub, Southwest Public Health, handles grant applications, including the current one to the Public Health Agency for $750,000. Fund management by Oxford Community Foundation for municipalities and partners. And data collection support. Funds support data collection and reporting with the Planet Youth Foundation. Now we're talking about youth surveys in their ask. Previous surveys, several informal youth surveys have been conducted, but no comprehensive survey like Planet Youth have been done here in the city of Woodstock before. There's a significant data gap looking at our children and youth here in our community. What we do know is alarming and needs more data to see how community partners can help address all the issues that have been recognized. The survey goals identify risk and protective factors to inform primary prevention activities. Timeline, data collection starts in early 2026 and results will be available within 6 to 8 weeks. So very, very quickly. And that brings the importance of enabling real-time application of interventions to prevent substance abuse or substance use. And being a partner with this, let me be clear that also allows us access to this information. So not only can we use it through different organizations, through our own city parks, but we can share it with Big Brothers, Big Sisters, and Welkins, and so many other different community partners here in the city. That's very specific to our needs. Next slide. As mentioned, priority one, the reason for tonight's little update. Coordinated encampment response. The goal, of course, is to transition to housing, as noted on the screen. Establishing a dedicated team to streamline outreach efforts and provide consistent support to individuals in encampments. Collaboration, the team includes members from various departments such as fire prevention, and I'm going to mention those a little bit later on. And also trust building, focusing on building trust with those experiencing homelessness, which is crucial for effective outreach and support. And as on the slide, safety is very, very important. Next slide. Encampment response team. As mentioned, I don't want to list it all off for those watching at home, but it's a very comprehensive team, and the encampment response core team was established as mentioned, as the very first priority of this task force. And we take a lot of pride in that because how the results they're seeing. But again, you're going to hear more about that shortly. The goal is to streamline the outreach. And we want to break down barriers and silos and make sure we eliminate any duplications. And when we started this, there was a lot. And I'm very proud of all the community partners working together to eliminate as much as possible. Next up, I'd like to call Rita Haran, one of our key supervisors of the City Parks and Forestry, and Stephen Miller, our manager of bylaw enforcement, for an update.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, members of council, for having us here today, and through you, Madam Chair. I'm pleased to share that we have had 2 successful encampment cleanups this year, and the individuals were able to be relocated and were able to be, they vacated voluntarily. We are working on, with private property owners on addressing issues on sites where there's encampments on private property. We are working with our police partners, and we're working through those issues. There has been significant developments on the legal side of the encampment issue, which has empowered municipalities to be more effective in dealing with the occupation of public property. A Superior Court decision was published in late December of 2024, Hiegsma versus Hamilton City, which unpacked enforcement efforts through the lens of the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms. In that case, the court ruled that daytime removal of an encampment on public property did not contravene the charter in any way, notwithstanding that potential barriers to sheltering may exist. That's not to say that we don't have an onus to address issues with barriers to sheltering. We definitely do, but it allows us to move more quickly and effectively. We are hesitantly relying on this new authority and are following mutually agreeable processes and timelines to get encampments cleaned up in a compassionate and caring way, having regard for the occupants as well as the public at large. Social Services Outreach have attended several sites with our officers and have had some successes getting people off the street and into housing, which we are very proud of. And it's great work and difficult work. Woodstock Police have worked alongside our officers and are supporting our efforts when they are required. We have also seen a notable increase in our capacity to respond with the addition of park staff who are ready to clean encampments up whenever we require them to do that. In fact, in the last encampment that we had, when bylaw officers had confirmed the occupants had vacated, park staff were able to mobilize within, I believe, a few hours and remove an illegal structure, which was, putting people at risk. I'll leave it to Rita to talk more on that. Thanks.
Thanks, Stephen. That's a good segue into what I wanted to talk about. So we do have parks dedicated staff now that focus on encampment response. Among their other duties within the Parks Department, their primary role is in encampments. So like Stephen said, we've had two recent encampments that were vacated and became unoccupied, and our park staff were able to mobilize and move in right away to remove the debris and hazards that were there on site. Our staff have only really had boots on the ground in the last 2 weeks, and they've already accomplished 2 large cleanups. So much quicker than we would have been able to do with a contracted service, and at a reduced cost. It's significantly less expensive with our internal staff. We are still seeing quite a bit of debris in a lot of our sites because we're trying to catch up with regular garbage removal. It's going to take us a little bit to get caught up to that point. And that's where you see our ask. We've already exhausted our $25,000 allotted tipping and waste disposal fees for this year through our contracted services. And we anticipate that we will have quite a bit of debris to remove that will cost a bit to get rid of for the rest of this season. But I'm very proud to say that our staff are doing very well in their roles. They're very eager. They love the work. They find it very rewarding. And they've been able to work with our outreach staff, our bylaw, police, and everyone at the county to collaborate on these projects. And it's been going very well.
Thank you both for that update. Next up, I'd like to welcome Oxford County update, Rebecca Smith, Director of Oxford County Human Services, for her update. If you don't mind going to the next slide.
Hello again, Council. Here today to just give a bit of an update, as you can see, a bit more of a collaborative approach as we address, encampments throughout the city. So I think we have a few points here. If I can get the previous slide, I think we can flip back. Perfect, thank you. So since January 2025, we've been able to house about 11 individuals from encampments, which is quite significant. Again, that's, county housed units, transitional housing, even some private landlords. So that's really the continued focus, making sure that these individuals have the correct supports before they are housed. Again, with that kind of wraparound approach for basically everybody that's participating in coordinated access. A bit, of an update on by name list. So of course, the by name list was really just implemented a few years ago, but we do currently have just over 160 active individuals on that by name list. That number does fluctuate as people, want to be actively, identified as being, homeless, but roughly around 160 individuals currently. Since its, start in 2021, we have been able to house about 130 individuals, which is very good progress. But again, you're still seeing that number increase, really signifying the need for increased supports. Third bullet here, just really touching on the collaboration. From a county level, we've been really able to collaborate with city staff, community partners to ensure that we're able to provide those supports from a county lens. We've been attending sites with your bylaw and park staff, as well as any community partners, which has really been successful over the last several months. And then just the last point there, still seeing, these numbers have probably changed a little bit with us getting into the summer, but still seeing those shelter usage rates at about, 35 and over for some of those days in terms of the average monthly, I guess the average over the last year. And I'll maybe let Tim get into that if I'm saying something a little bit offside here, but happy to answer any questions. Pass it over.
Sorry, Councillor Leatherbarrow.
Through you, Madam Chair. I didn't want to make you sit down, Rebecca, and then ask at the end. So
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I'm glad you're still here.
Thank you.
Often I'm asked just a description of what or a definition of what exactly the by name list is. So I didn't know if you could just explain that for the public's benefit. There's a lot of acronyms in municipal government, but just a bit more detail as to what exactly the by name list is.
Of course, apologies, that's my fault. So the by name list is a list of all the individuals who want to be identified as being homeless so that they can receive the supports that they need from all of our community partners. And that full system is called the Coordinated Access System. So all of our community partners are part of that Coordinated Access System to provide those individuals who have been identified on that by name list with proper support. So there is a very big focus when we are going out to these sites to try and get individuals on the by name list. I will say not everyone wants to be identified on the by name list. We're not going to get away from that. I think the reality, unfortunately, is that some individuals, don't want that assistance. And that's unfortunately, a reality that we have to face. So I guess if that gives you the full summary. Yeah, perfect.
Councillor Tate.
Through the chair, just to confirm, because I know I was given an update, but for the public's information. So I know when Berry Park was cleaned up and evacuated, I don't want the public to think that we just throw those people out on the street. So I know the group went in and got all of them housing, not that they took it, but just for, you just confirm to the public, we do find them somewhere to go. Whether they go or not is dependent on them, but we do not put them out in the street.
Yeah, through the acting mayor. Yes, the goal is with outreach staff going out with, city staff, the goal is to find housing or to offer, accommodations, even if that is at the emergency shelter. We are providing, an option for those individuals to stay or even the supports that they would require. Mhm.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. Or I should say Director Smith. Yep. And next up, we have Operation Sharing. And I'd like to ask Mr. Tim Dukes to come forward, the Executive Director of Operation Sharing, for that update.
Thank you. Hello, Council again, Acting Mayor. So yeah, as we continue to work forward and look to keep trying to remove barriers from our shelter system and just continue to improve our services to make them more effective. Collaboration is the key word of, I think, this presentation and this update from the task force to what we're doing at Operation Sharing. Collaboration is what's making us successful. With regular partnerships, as we've listed some here, with caseworkers and system navigators from the county and ODSP having offices there, CMHA, the new outreach worker that was funded through the county's last budget. They're all up in their training and they're working, just like Rita's team being expanded to help with the encampments. It's just in my opinion that we're making a lot of really good moves. I think we are doing a good job. We're getting better at this every day. The collaboration is the key. The silos just working together. I just love coming into the shelter nowadays and just having all the community partners on site and watching us all work together, watching the county and the city and all of you just be involved. And I applaud everyone in this room with the supports on movements and stuff that we've done to get to this point where we're at, even though we have a long way to go. Just to share a couple stories for the public and for the council. We had 2 long-term regular clients that spent a lot of time in our shelter system. About 5 weeks ago, they left and went into a detox program. From the detox program, they went into sober living. Monday will mark going into their 5th week. They contact me by phone every week to update me, to tell me how great they're feeling and how successful everything's going. That's a win. We had a gentleman in our city that has been experiencing homelessness, was in Woodstock over 30 years off and on. This gentleman is now housed into a housing with related support system, which comes with pharmacies on site, meals every day, supports on site, all the assistance that this gentleman will require while he sits on a waiting list for a retirement home. And if he stays on this path that he's been put on, he will never spend another day homeless in his life. We also had a 71-year-old lady that was with us for over a month, hard of hearing, there with her family. A lot of financial restraints. The team at Operation Sharing, with help from the county workers mentioned in there, we helped this lady remove all her financial restraints in her life to allow her to take a step forward. We got her into a retirement home here in Woodstock, and she came to visit us yesterday, and it was a tearful day because they had set her up with a hearing machine. So it was the first time in the month and a half that we met this lady that we actually had a conversation with her while she laughed and smiled. And these are just some of the success stories that are coming from what we're doing. The efforts are there. I do respect public's opinion and concerns and stuff with what's going on. This stuff does take time, but I just feel that since I've come on board with Operation Sharing and got to become a big part of this over the last year, July will be my 1 year. It's gone already. But just seeing the changes in that small year and the support that we've gotten from this council and from county, I feel, in my opinion, we're doing a lot of right things. Just to touch on a couple things with the task force. I obviously sit on the task force and I 100% support the task force. I sit on a lot of committees in the city. The thing I like about the task force is it's full of all of the vital pieces within our community, and it's full of people that are in a position of authority that can actually make change, that are there, that can actually make decisions. There's a lot of subcommittees and a lot of subcommittees and a lot of subcommittees. I just feel that this is a very powerful committee. It has a lot of pieces, as you've seen there, from the parks to the youth to the shelter, from the police to the fire. It goes on. It's a very powerful table. We have a lot of very good discussions there. To me, it's more than just the money that comes with the task force. It's that collaboration piece. That piece that needs to be the focus of this update is the collaboration, and that's how we're winning. That's how Operation Sharon's winning. I feel that's how Woodstock's starting to win, and I feel that's how the county's starting to win, because we're all starting to work together. I think I'm just going to really leave it at that and see if there's any questions or more updates that people would like from the shelter side of things. Okay, thank you.
Well, thank you, Tim, for those kind words as well, and I feel the exact same way. Everybody sitting at the table is somebody that can make change, and we certainly have a lot of asks and a lot of open discussions around that table. And one of the biggest reason why we wanted to bring it here for all of council's awareness right away, and those watching at home as well. Next steps. Oxford Heart Hub. Continued development under the leadership of Woodstock Hospital and Oxford OHT. This hub will serve as a central point for coordinating services and support. And they're now at weekly meetings, getting ready and next steps and everything else. So it's really exciting to be able to follow along and see this develop. We've also recently learned that the province has extended the deadline to spend the 1.99 million BFF funding to be given to the county for a permanent shelter. So this is great news as well. Working towards securing a dedicated shelter space to provide stable and safe accommodations for those in need, being actively worked on by an ad hoc committee of county council, and I'm very proud to be a county councillor member on that ad hoc committee. Continually doing some ongoing outreach. The encampment response team will continue connecting people to services and working to prevent permanent encampments, ensuring ongoing support and assistance. Our city efforts, regular visits to encampments with support staff to provide assistance, close and clean up sites, and again, ensure safety. And again, relationships are such a big important of what that team is doing. That in many teams through the county are going in, speaking to the members of these encampments and feeling comfortable now in order to put themselves on the by name list as mentioned and get the help that they really truly need. County achievements successfully transitioning individuals to housing and reducing the duration of shelter stays is really important. These efforts have led to significant improvements in the lives of so many residents. And of course, operation sharing, removing barriers to access shelter and supportive services, making it easier for individuals to receive the help they need. That's the end of the presentation. I hope we are able to answer many questions that you have, and will continually answer any questions as they come forward through myself or any member of the team. As you saw, it's quite a big team, from police to Woodstock Hospital to Salvation Army to youth involvement. We have a lot of members on that team that can answer a lot of questions. But I will open it up if you have any questions right now.
I don't have a question. I just wanted to know if we could move up the motion because we have the director here and operation sharing. So if we could move it up.
Sure.
And I didn't know if you wanted.
I'll come back to the chair if
Okay.
that, unless there's a pointed question that, no, okay. Well,
Are there any
be the case.
questions of the presenters from any of the council members?
Oh.
Councillor Lauder.
Thank you. Just one question through the chair to the mayor.
Mhm.
So are the numbers you're saying 165, and I know that this has been spoken about. So is that an increase? Are they increasing quite a bit of people coming forward? Or is this just because people are getting on they do have the list, that they're getting the names, and where before they weren't getting as many names or they weren't coming forward?
Well, I'm glad you asked that, because that is something we did speak about at our last mayor's task force meeting, and we think it's both. We think there has been an increase, which is due to the weather. Normally this happens. People are kind of moving out of somebody's couch or something into a site or deciding to go into homelessness. But also those relationships through the encampment team. It's talked about on a very regular basis, as well as our Oxford County staff are getting through and speaking and finding out those needs that they need to really get them out of that situation. So it is both.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions for the presenters from council?
Okay.
No, I will turn the chair back over to Mayor Atchone.
Thank you, Councillor Wismer Van Meer, and thank council for allowing me to do that. I know that's a little bit different, but I felt it important. And thank you to my fellow task force members for being here tonight to add what they can and being willing to answer questions. It's really important. So as per request, is there any objections to move ahead? Item 15A, request update from Mayor's Community and Social Wellbeing Task Force. Seeing no objections, thank you. So that brings us to Special Committee and Advisory Task Force reports, and I'm looking for a motion on the floor. Councillor Leatherborough?
Moved by myself that Woodstock City Council receive the update from the Mayor's Community and Social Wellbeing Task Force report as information, and further that City Council approves the following allocation of funds from the Community and Social Wellbeing Reserve Fund, City of Woodstock Parks Department Waste Disposal Tipping Fees, 20,000, Planet Youth Oxford Coalition Icelandic Prevention Model, 5,000.
Thank you. Is there a seconder on that? Councillor Tate? Discussion or questions? Councillor Tate?
Few comments, because I think we should thank all the people on the committee. So first to Director Smith from the county. She has been a breath of fresh air to the county and on this particular portfolio. I feel like there's been a lot of movement in this in a very short time, and it's greatly appreciated. I know when myself and the warden first made the motion for the shelter last term, there's been no movement on it, and I'm happy to see that there's movement on it because it's not what we had envisioned, and it's going to be a standalone building, which it should have been all along. Mr. Dukes, there's really no words that would be enough for the hard work and the conditions that you work in and what you're trying to achieve. I know it's very difficult. So greatly appreciated all the work that's involved and your employees, as I said before, the amount of work that they do and what they are witnessing every day has to be very difficult. I know I did look up, the government did do a paper on homelessness. And one of the big points was, and they had 23,000 people respond, and a significant of those in homelessness had at least one health challenge. So whether it's drug abuse or mental health, so we know it's very complex. So what you are trying to achieve, it's very difficult, but thank you for all your work. For the Parks Department, for the work they're doing, because as we said before, they are also now partly doing not just parks work, but more of a community involvement piece that they were never trained to do, and they have been doing an excellent job. But also in that, I also have to give a lot of credit to the Board of Works people too, because both of these different departments are doing the cleanup. So it's been very difficult. I have to also mention Mr. Warren Waugh, because I get numerous emails from individuals with encampments around, and he does send out his guys to clean up. I know the large ones the parks are doing, but the amount of work that they've had to do in a short time and get up to speed on what they're doing, because they didn't have training for this, has been quite amazing. And then my last one is for the head of bylaw, Mr. Miller. So just a short little story. Councillor Schattenberg was contacted by a encampment that he was not aware of, nor was I, or Councillor Lauder. So I guess it had been active for about a year. It was on private property. Anyways, within 3 weeks of them contacting us, Mr. Miller was able to find the actual way to contact the owner, because it was a company in the States. So it's been less than 3 weeks and he's given them notice to get, well, the work that's being done, and they will get out. So I know people say, well, that's his job, but he worked really, really hard to find a way to contact these people. So we are very lucky in the city of Woodstock for the workers we have. We're very fortunate. It's a very difficult situation and everybody seems to have climbed on board of this. I'm sure everything that you witness is difficult. I am privy to a lot of the pictures from Barry Park, and it is disturbing. And then the woman that lived there, it has been, she's very thankful, but she's also going through a lot of difficult time because she doesn't know what's going to happen. And then when she witnessed what was actually in there, it's upsetting. And from what I understand, this private one is even worse than that one. So hats off to these different individuals, because without you, we wouldn't be able to achieve what we have. Recognizing it's going to be very difficult. As I was telling Mr. Dukes, I work with an organization that tries to help the most vulnerable. And he said, I think it's going to be a generational thing. And I think it's the next generation. His organization's been working for years and years and years, and it's tough. So there's no easy answer. If there was, we'd all have it. He laughed when I told him that county council paid $100,000 for a consultant report, because he said, what are you going to get? It's AI. There is no answer. So everybody's working together, which is a big effort now. And I have to recognize the Director Smith for all the work she's done in a short time and getting these groups working together. And just a final comment on the last one. The Planet Youth Oxford Coalition, the Icelandic prevention model. So we get the agenda on Friday. So I did a lot of looking in to see, because I know it doesn't sound like a lot, but I didn't want to go down some rabbit hole with this council committing to a lot of money. So I did contact a couple of other organizations. I did talk to the gentleman that delivered it, and the schools are participating. So for the public's information, so you know where the money's going, we're going to get data. So we're basically paying for data. But I also talked to Kelly Gilson from the United Way, who's been, I mean, I can't even comment on all the work she's done. It's been amazing. But she knew about this organization and the data, she said, over 20 years ago. So she said it was very successful. So it's organizations like hers will get the data. And I'm hopeful that when we get it, if the organizations like Children's Aid and Big Brothers and Big Sisters, they also get the information, because they're the ones that deal with this and they're the experts. So that's it.
Well, thank you, Councillor Tate. I'll certainly agree with every single thing you said there. So thank you, and thank everyone involved. Councillor Wismer Van Meer.
There we go. I won't say much because I think Councillor Tate touched on a lot of what I think a number of us that have the opportunity to sit on the task force. But I am fortunate. I actually, just as of a few weeks ago, joined the Planet Youth Coalition group as well, kind of as a two-hat, as Big Brothers Big Sisters, but also as a city councillor. So I'm sure that Councillor Leatherborough and Mayor Accioni, not sure if you've gotten that one before, can attest to the fact that Peter Hayward from Southwest Public Health started speaking about Planet Youth almost from the get-go of us meeting as a task force, and really didn't know a whole lot about it. But I had heard about the Icelandic model in the past, of course, just in my role outside of this council role. I would encourage folks to really just go to their website and read about it, because the data that is provided from this, it is going to be our young people in our schools speaking. And this is data that won't just help those organizations that Councillor Tate mentioned. It helps council and it helps the city of Woodstock make sure that we are addressing what these young people are facing. So I really encourage people to take a little bit of time to read about Planet Youth, because it really is a great model that has had huge successes around the world. So that's just a little plug for that as well.
Well, thank you, Councillor Wismer Van Meer. I certainly agree with everything you said as well. Councillor Martin.
Thank you, Mayor Accioni. Fully support the recommendation. I specifically want to speak to the Planet Youth model. This is a model I've been following for the last 2 years, and it is a really an exciting but expansive initiative. It is a 10-step program of which we're kind of at step number 2 right now. And we see a kind of a staggering trend of substance use and misuse within our region compared to the provincial average. That goes to cigarette smoking, it goes to alcohol use, it goes to cannabis use. The statistics in our area are alarming. And so if we can take the steps today to identify the data and the analysis that allows for future planning to help youth divert away from substance use and misuse, then we also help an entire population, an entire demographic steer away from mental health issues, addiction issues, and future homelessness issues. We're not used to, as councils, thinking decades down the road with the dollars and cents we spend today. But this is an example of 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now, we will continue to see the impacts of this $5,000 should this motion be approved. So I appreciate, Mayor Accioni, that you've brought this forward, that it's a part of the mayor's task force and social well-being, and I fully support it.
Thank you, Councillor Martin. I certainly agree with everything you said as well. Anyone else? Councillor Lauder.
Yes, I'm just, certainly would approve and support the 20,000 waste disposable tipping fee. I know it's needed when we hear of and see what has had to be, I think Rita gave a good description of what has been picked up so far and why we need it. The Iceland prevention model, I had a lot of thoughts about that, and I just wasn't sure, but listening to everyone and reading what I had to read, I'm certainly will support that. And I'm glad to hear that the data will be distributed to all the organizations within the city that deal with the youth. So I think that'll be something that will be well worth our spending of $5,000. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lauder. Again, I think that Planet Youth Oxford Coalition is going to be doing a lot of work. And in a very short time, early 2026, we should learn some of the data from that, and certainly we'll make sure anyone who wants it or can benefit will share it as much as we can. Councillor Tate?
Yeah, just to chair, further to that, when I talked to Peter, he said that it's unheard of how fast the data turns around that you get. So I think he said within 6 weeks or something. It's really incredible. So
Yeah, their goal is 6 to 8 weeks, and that's the biggest advantage to this. It's current, it's active, and we can respond as quick as possible instead of a traditional 6 months to a year for any big data collections. Anyone else before I call the vote? Well, before I call the vote, I just, again, thank everybody. Thank you for those being in this room. And those, I know many people are watching from home, trying to learn a little bit more as well. So with that, I'll call the vote. All those in favor? None opposed. That's unanimous. Thank you, everyone. That is carried. Now we're going to back up a little bit. So we were at 11B. Thank you, everyone, for being here tonight. So that brings us to mayor's report for those following along. No mayor's reports, no councillor reports. There is department reports. Nothing from administrative services, but we do have engineering, of course, 14B 1.1, 2025 Asset Management Plan. Councillor Schanberg.
Yeah, I make the motion that Woodstock City Council approves the 2025 Asset Management Plan, and further the 2025 Asset Management Plan be posted on the city's website to comply with Ontario Regulation 58.8 or 588 -17, and submitted also to the Ministry of Infrastructure, MOI.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Counselor Tate, discussion or questions? Counselor Schanberg.
Yeah, from the mayor, I'm not sure if Mr. Agram has to come back up to the podium or not, but maybe just a comment from our CIO, David Creary, because he's also an engineer. Just about the importance of this asset management plan and why it is something that the province of Ontario has sort of mandated all municipalities to do.
Your worship, through to Councillor Schadenberg. Mr. Agroam lives and breathes this every day, and I wouldn't dare try to answer that question. I'd much rather he do it.
I do have a life outside of asset management. I just want to make sure make that clear. So through the chair to the councilor's question. So the council brought, or the province brought in OREC 58817 with the intention to bring in the rest of the smaller municipalities into asset management. A lot of the larger ones like the Toronto, the Ottawa, the Mississauga, they've already been doing asset management for years prior to this regulation. And the main purpose of this was to bring in everybody else into the fold and standardize the practice. And then that way there is a plan moving forward. There's a structure, there is again, a standard to asset management. Hope that kind of answers your question, or.
Yes, it looks like it. Anyone else? Well, just before you sit down again, I just want to say thank you. I love data like this. I love sitting down. This is the geek in me that kind of goes over it and tries to understand and looking at things that are going to be coming at council in the future. So thank you for the information. Really do appreciate it. With that, anyone else? Oh, Councillor Tate.
Yeah, just through the chair, just a comment. Thank you for the report again. And I think this is one of the most important documents that we have. And I know it's a very large read, but it should be a Bible for counselors, especially at budget time. We're in trouble here, as I keep saying, please read the asset management. We need to fund this stuff, not all the extras, because taxes are already high, but we should be maintaining what we have. And our roads are not in great shape. And when you read this, you understand why I keep saying stop spending money on extras, because we need to fund the stuff we have. So thank you. This is probably one of the most important things that we have. So your job is very valuable.
Thank you. Anyone else? Before he can't get out of the room and it's too big. It's been fantastic. All right. Thank you. With that, I'll call the vote. All those in favor? None opposed. Thank you. Next up, we have 14B.2 amendments to traffic bylaw, number 8021-04. Councillor Wismer Van Meer.
I'll move that Woodstock City Council refer the report regarding amendments to traffic bylaw 8021-04 to the bylaw section of the agenda.
Thank you. Seconded, Councillor Lauder. Discussion or questions? Councillor Wismer Van Meer.
More or less just a comment. I think this is a really great report for people to look at, because when folks suddenly say, why is there no parking on my street? I didn't know this was coming. Well, you did know, because it's right here. This is something that I always, when these come up, I share them on my socials and I say exactly what this is about. I had Mr. DeHaan had a very ecstatic homeowner at the corner of Cree and Springbank to hear about the three-way stop coming in, because they just rebuilt the fence and all the beautiful things that were unfortunately taken down a few months ago. So that is one of the things that's being added to the city. So I encourage folks, look at this. It's not a whole lot to read, but you're going to know what's coming up in your neighborhood. If there's a new four-way stop, three-way stop, no parking, no stopping, it's all right there for you.
Yes, agreed. Councillor Schanberg.
Yeah, from the mayor through to Harold DeHaan from engineering. I guess the best question to ask is, when something comes up like taking parking off Valley View Drive, for example, is the neighboring school consulted about that? So it's not a surprise when the no parking signs go up?
Your worship, through the counselor. Usually, a lot of times these, these, we look into these matters either due to a request from a property owner or by something that staff has looked into. That being said, we don't usually consult with the property owners on what their opinion of what we should do. We take a look at it, we look to see what our standards are, what we think should happen outside of what people's opinions are, and that's kind of what we recommend to council. Sorry, and that would include the school board.
Thanks for that last little bit. Anyone else? Counselor Tate?
Just a question through to the city engineer. Is there a grace period for the residents for the no parking before they get fined?
Your worship, through the counselor, generally it takes Public Works probably, after they get locates and everything, probably a good month before the signs actually go up. And bylaw, when they go out, then would, because it's a new sign, would give them first warnings.
Great question, actually. So thank you. Anyone else? Counselor Lauder?
Just a comment that I certainly agree with the non-street parking, because sometimes it's very difficult to go down some of the streets, wheel down through them, and that's just in the car. So our service people, ambulance, fire, the garbage pickup, and all those facilities it must be difficult for them. So I do appreciate seeing this.
Thank you. Anyone else? So again, please be aware, if you're watching this online, make sure you take a look at this document, make sure you're aware of the parking or four-way stops in your area, as there are a fair number of changes coming. Seeing no one else with a question or comment, I'll call a vote. All those in favor? None opposed. That is carried. Next up is 14B3 2024 Building Permit Fee Report. Looking for a motion? Councillor Leatherborough?
Moved by myself that Woodstock City Council receive the 2024 building permit fee report as information.
Thank you. I'm having a lot of troubles with this microphone tonight. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Wismer Van Meer. Discussion or questions? Seeing none? All those in favor? None opposed. That is carried. Nothing from Cultural Services or Parks and Recreation, but we do have Economic Development this evening. 14E.1 Childcare Promotion and Support Policy. Councillor Leatherborough.
Moved by myself that Woodstock City Council approves Council Policy GA033, Childcare Promotion and Support.
Thank you. Is there a seconder on the motion? Councillor Wismer Van Meer. Discussion? Councillor Leatherborough.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I'm very happy to see this back a year later, and Mr. Hammond, again, I think really captured some important information, so I would just volley the question over to him, or the request to summarize what this policy means, and I would encourage him to speak at length if he so wishes.
Oh, please don't tell him that.
Get comfortable. Your worship, through to Councillor Leatherborough. So, yes.
Anybody need a bathroom break before you start?
I'm
No,
I'm
okay.
gonna do better this time, okay? Yeah. Anyway, at the September 19th meeting, there was a rather lengthy report that was presented to City Council discussing the lack of particularly licensed childcare in the city, and proposing opportunities for the city to have a positive influence in creating new spaces. So I promised not to talk as long as I did that night. I just rewatched it, and thanks for entertaining me that night. Anyway, as a result of that report, there were a number of recommendations that were passed through a motion as a result of that report. The policy before council tonight is in recognition of one of those motions. dealing particularly with non-industrial real estate that's owned by the city. So in the case of this policy, there's really four triggers rather for this policy. It would be triggered when the city was selling a piece of vacant non-industrial land, so not when we're selling land in our business parks, but from time to time, the city seems to come across small parcels that we can sell. It would also be triggered when we're selling a vacant building that's surplus to municipal uses. It would be triggered when we're putting an addition onto an existing facility, and it would be triggered when the city's building a new building, something such as an arena, for example. The policy was purposefully drafted to be flexible enough so not to obligate council to have to incorporate a child care center every time one of these actions are taken by council. So it's intended to be more of a case-by-case analysis. When a property comes up, is it an appropriate spot for a child care center to take place, for example? So, if Mr. DeHaan was doing an addition to the engineering property, probably not the spot you want child care. But, there are other, I won't say that. There are other properties that the city has where it would be totally appropriate, a community center or something like that. So it's kind of a case by case. I guess if I was to summarize, the point of the policy really is to ensure that the opportunity is never overlooked, whether it's now or whether it's years from now when it's a whole different group of faces sitting in this room between staff and council. So, it puts it on the books as a policy. When we're doing one of these things, it just will cause staff to pause, evaluate the property, and present a recommendation to council based on that. So happy to answer any questions.
Thank you for staying under an hour. All kidding aside. Before I call a question or ask for anybody else, I just want to say thank you to Councillor Leatherborough as well as Mr. Hammond. Again, this is such a need, and it wasn't until I was sitting in this chair in the last couple of years, the last 3 years almost now, that it's been highlighted such a need here in our community, and looking at the data of how we don't have a lot of licensed places. So I think this policy, as you mentioned, Mr. Hammond, for going forward, I think it's clear, not only this council, but councils forward to, consider it for anything moving forward, no matter what we're doing, we're building or we're selling property and such. So we can also speak to those developers and encourage these kind of things by this kind of policy. So thank you. Is there any other comments or questions? Councillor Martin.
Thank you, Mayor Accioni. I specifically appreciate that the policy refers to the term over which the municipality is expected to recover its costs for the construction of a space. I think it's important to note that this policy is not intended to be an additional cost to the municipality, but is a cost recovery. And that opportunity to analyze that with each and every opportunity that is presented to us. So my thanks to staff for including that so specifically and so articulately in the policy.
Yes, thank you. Anyone else? Councillor Wismer Van Meer.
Just to comment again, and I want to thank Mr. Hammond because I did reach out to him yesterday. Unfortunately, we didn't get to chat because I was at the Jays game and couldn't really answer the phone, but he did send me an email to answer some of the questions that I did have. But, he referenced the Zora Township building and the daycare they've had in there and the success that they're seeing and how that capital is going to be repaid. So, I thank Councillor Leatherborough for bringing this forward because I sat on the board for Good Beginnings for a number of years, I think 6 terms in total. And that was 10 plus years ago. And the issue was, in a crisis then, and it's only gotten worse. So I think that this is something that we as a municipality really needed to have this consideration. And to Mr. Hammond for all of the work you've done on this, I think this is a great policy you've brought forward. So thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Tate.
Through the chair, I will not be supporting this. This is one of these issues that is an upper tier responsibility. They get the money from the province, we don't. So this is one of the things I keep saying, we cannot be getting into stuff that's not our mandate. We don't have the money for it. I understand there is a need for it, but it's at the upper tier. I just talked to one of my assistants yesterday and she lives in Simcoe. Yes, there's a waiting list. She has childcare, but it's for the subsidized that she's trying to get on. And that's a whole different ballgame that's done with the county. And also, I'm gonna find it difficult that our economic development is gonna even broach this subject with somebody that's looking to invest and build a building. So I looked it up and it's about $300 to $450 square foot to build an industrial building. It is really tough. I deal with business people all the time and manufacturers. Those are my clients, and I'm gonna tell you, they would laugh if they saw this. It is difficult to make money, and I think the last thing they're gonna do is something like this. And as I said, it's an upper tier responsibility, and I think that's where it should stay, and so I will not support it.
Counselor Leatherborough?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So as I was saying at the beginning of this discussion, I'm super pleased to see this back a year later, and I'd really like to thank the 3 delegations that came forward to obviously touch on their experience in the field as it relates to Oxford County and the lack of childcare spaces. We're the lowest in the province of Ontario for licensed spaces, and that says enough for me. And I do appreciate that this has come back also along the same lines of the theme tonight has been data, wellness, youth, asset management, and I think we all want to have a prosperous, healthy community. So whether I'm here when this policy is thriving or being considered at the very least, I'm just so happy to see it come to this point. And I'd also ask the clerk for a recorded vote, please.
Thank you. Anyone else? Counselor Lauder?
I also won't be supporting this. It is an umbrella of the county. And I just think that I do not support asking investors to add a daycare to their facility. There are many stipulations that have to be met to provide a daycare. It just isn't adding an area in the building. This can come as a huge added expense to a development, thus possibly discouraging a development. They might relocate some or locate somewhere else. So that's why I won't be supporting it.
Thank you. Anyone else? Counselor Schadenberg?
Yeah, just last week I drove by the brand new Turtle Island School that's under construction with a frontage on Knights Lane. And there's a school that's getting built for about 900 students. So that's basically JK right up to grade 8. And it's going to be quite a large building when it's done, goes without saying. But the project also includes 85 daycare spots. So that includes children from 1-year-old, basically right up until they're ready to go to JK, presumably at the same school. So I'm just thinking there's a case or a scenario where the province of Ontario through the Thames Valley District School Board is adding space for a daycare. And I think that's sort of the direction it should be looked upon and not done by our tier of government at the municipal level.
Okay, thank you. Counselor Leatherborough?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, these will be my final comments. I still haven't heard anybody talk about the future rec center, which again, asset management, we cannot taxation or tax people for everything. You have to look for provincial funding and federal funding, and they too seek collaboration and partnership in order to award such funding. So I just don't want to veer away from, scaring employers from opening shop in Woodstock when if people can't find childcare, how will they also find employees? I just think that this is important as we build out the future, specifically as it relates to potential possibilities with the future rec center.
Thank you. Anyone else? I do have a question through to Mr. Hammond. The way this policy presented right now, besides your time involved, which is very valuable, I understand, but is there any other cost attributed to this policy if it is successful to this council or any future councils?
Your worship, through to the question, in terms of the policy itself, there's no cost attached to it. It simply requires council to consider whether it's an appropriate spot to have childcare and whether it's an appropriate spot to invest the city's money to lease out the space, for example. I suppose the areas there could be a financial impact would be if the city were selling a vacant building or a surplus building or a vacant piece of land. And as part of the RFP to sell that property, there's wording in there that says, preference will be given to proposals that include a childcare center. Then it would be the decision of council at that time. If they receive several proposals, do they accept less money for the property that includes childcare, or for a proposal that includes childcare? Or is it simply about, garnering as much money as you can out of the sale? So, the policy itself doesn't obligate council one way or the other on any of these things, simply to consider.
Okay, thank you for that. Anyone else before I call a vote? Sorry, I'm not calling a vote. It's a recorded vote. Ms. Humphries.
Thank you, Your Worship. Councillor Leatherbarrow,
Yes.
Councillor Martin,
Yes.
Councillor Schadenberg,
No.
Councillor Tate,
No.
Councillor Wismer Van Meer. Yes. Mayor Accioni
Yes.
and Councillor Lauder.
No.
That motion carries 4-3.
Thank you. Next up is 14E.2, repurchase of vacant industrial land. Looking for a motion on the floor. Counselor Tate?
I'll move that Woodstock City Council authorize the repurchase of the subject property from 118555581 Canada Inc. for $650,000 to be financed from the Industrial Land Reserve Fund, and further that the necessary bylaw be read and the mayor and the clerk be authorized to sign the required documents.
Thank you. Is there a seconder on this? Counselor Schadenberg, discussion or questions? Seeing none? I'll call the vote. All those in favor? None opposed. That is carried. We have nothing from the clerk's department, CAO's office, human resources, fire services, public works, or IT. We've already addressed 15, special committee advisory task force. That brings us to notice of motion. Councillor Martin. Councillor Martin, you're muted.
Sorry. 2 years into it, and I still can't remember that. That Woodstock City Council authorized free transit, including paratransit services on Friday, August 8th and Saturday, August 9th, 2025 to facilitate travel to Southside Park for Cowapalooza, or that Woodstock City Council authorized the extension of transit and paratransit services to 11 p.m. on Friday, August 8th and Saturday, August 9th, 2025 to facilitate travel from Southside Park for Cowapalooza.
Okay, thank you. This motion will be read but not debated or voted on, of course, tonight. So just for those watching, we will be looking at that at the July 10th meeting as mentioned. No new business that I'm aware of, which brings us to the draft bylaws. Councillor Martin.
Thank you. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Wismer Van Meer that the following bylaws be given a first and second reading. 9785-25, a bylaw to amend zoning bylaw number 8626-10 as amended ZN 8-25-04, 140 Ferguson Drive. 9759-25, a bylaw to amend zoning bylaw number 8626-10 as amended ZN 8-25-03, 62 Frederick Street. 9760-25 and a bylaw to amend zoning bylaw number 8625-10 as amended ZN 8-25-01 427 Woodall Way. 9761-25, a bylaw to provide for the purchase of certain lands owned by 118555581 Canada Inc. 9762-25, a bylaw to amend traffic bylaw 8021-04 as amended.
Thank you. Any questions or concerns with those? Seeing none, all those in favor? None opposed? Councillor Martin?
Moved by myself and seconded, excuse me, by Councillor Tate, that the following bylaws be given a third and final reading. 9758-25, 9759-25, 9760-25, 9761-25, and 9762-25.
Thank you. Last chance. Any questions or concerns? All those in favor? None opposed. That's carried. And that brings us to questions and addresses by members of council. Tonight, we are going to start with Councillor Leathermore.
Threw me off. I just wanted to say a big thank you to Marlene Vanderspeck from the Parks Department and the horticultural team. We were downtown on the weekend for Family Pride Day, and I swear everything was sparkling. It just looks so beautiful, and I think it's always important to give people credit where credit's due, which there's been much of that tonight. And I can't believe we're transitioning into the summer to one meeting a month for this council table anyways. So wishing all of the kiddos, educators, families a smooth transition and less lunches to pack.
Thank you. Councillor Martin.
Thank you very much. Happy Pride. Wonderful to see a great turnout last Saturday at Family Pride Day. I don't have a whole lot more to add. It's been a couple of busy days. I'm away at a provincial public health conference this week, and I've been in meetings since 7 a.m. this morning. So I will wish everyone a wonderful evening because I am tired.
Yes, and thank you for being here. I actually planned on going to you first just to allow you to unconnect. So my apologies for that, but thank you. Councillor Tate.
First, I think we need to recognize the Director of Public Works, Mr. Dan Locke. This is his last meeting, council meeting. Lucky you. Thank you for all your work to the city and your years here. We will miss you. You have a fantastic group of people working for you. So I'm very confident in your replacement. I know you were part of it, and I've heard really good things, but I hope you enjoy every single day of your retirement and no more council. And just on that note, I think there needs to be a big shout out to the Board of Works. I'm not sure if all council is aware, we have a very old fleet of garbage trucks that break down every single week. So when I say stop spending money on stuff we shouldn't, stop. Because these guys have had to get a pickup truck and go pick up the garbage by hand. And this has been every week. So they don't get recognized. There's nothing that is, and they should be. So a big thank you to them because they are going over and above, and it's really frustrating for them when they see what money's being spent and this is the stuff that they're doing. So thank you to them and thank you for all your work. And I know you've been a big supporter of theirs.
Yes, thank you. Councillor Schattenberg.
Yeah, this coming Saturday, that's June 21st from 9 a.m. until 3 p.m. Southgate Center and Sally Creek are combining forces for a charity car show. It will be at the Sally Creek Rec Hall. And the proceeds are going to DASO, Domestic Abuse Services Oxford. Of course, they're recognizing 50 years this year for their service. Admission is free, but the car entry is $10 for that event. Of course, there'll be food trucks and other things happening there. Tuesday, July 1st, of course, the City of Woodstock fireworks. I'm sure the mayor is going to mention that as well. Fireworks always at dusk, so it's about 9:45 p.m. Now, the stage performers this year started 2, so there's no reason not to come down and spend the entire day in Southside Park with the performances starting at 2. Great local band, Blind Dog Joe, is on at 7 p.m. with Rob Cromwell featured with them this year. And 8:30, I love the name of this band, Looney Tunes, because they're a Canadian tribute rock band, so playing tribute to Tragically Hip, Loverboy, Rush, Trooper, Neil Young, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But I just love the name of the band, Looney Tunes. That'll be on stage at 8:30. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Wismer Van Meer.
Just congratulations to Mr. Locke. I know you're going to enjoy your time and with your barbershop quartets, and I look forward to coming to watch you perform, and hopefully we'll get you back here in town to do some performing for us as well. a good time to retire right before the summer. That was really smart. On that note, congratulations to all those graduates, whether it's JK, SK, grade 8, high school, college, universities, whatever it may be. I know it's a tough time of the year for a lot of parents. I got to go through it myself last week, but it's a fun time because we all look forward, as Councilor Leatherborough said, to, I don't have to make lunches. At least I got to that point in my life, but I don't have to buy all the things that have to go in the lunches anymore. So congratulations to all those that are celebrating those milestones right now, and enjoy summer, kiddos, and be safe out there, please.
Yes, thank you. Councillor Lauder.
Thank you. Last evening, the mayor and I had the honor of presenting Finn McCallum, the recipient of the Friends of the Woodstock Art Gallery Legacy Scholarship, $1,000. He will be attending Western in the fall, going through for an art therapy, and he's quite a young man, wasn't he? He was his artwork is lovely. I think they're taking it down tomorrow, but if you haven't seen it, you've really missed something. And summer starts on June the 21st, so let's begin. I'm looking forward to the Canada Day celebrations. And I want to warn everyone out there to watch for motorbikes. I have to tell you, my son was hit on Sunday in a hit and run, and he is suffering from a broken shoulder. He's very fortunate, that's all that's happened, but just watch for bicycles or motorbikes and bicycles. So just a warning. And I'm wishing Dan the best of his retirement, and just enjoy the summer and your barber shoppers and everything else you want to do. So thank you.
Yes, thank you for that, and I'm glad he's okay. I actually got my bike out on Friday, and my daughter and I headed down to Friday the 13th for Port Dover. First time I've had it out in a year and a half. And it is amazing how nobody sees you on a bike. 2 intersections, if I wasn't on a big bright orange bike, I swear they wouldn't have seen. They wouldn't have. So please pay attention to those around you, motorcycles, bicyclists, and walkers. So please. Mr. Luck, happy retirement. It's been a pleasure. About 4 years here, we've been working together total, and really thankful for everything. You've always been there. You've always answered the questions. Sometimes they're tougher questions. Your staff is phenomenal. And I think you're a big part of that, the reason why. Willing to go above and beyond, as Councillor Tate mentioned and thanked, with leadership like yours, we're gonna miss it. We are. And I thank you, but please enjoy everything in the future. And I know you will have a lot of fun singing, and we'll definitely see you around here soon. Okay. What's that? Would you like to say something? Sure, please.
If you're okay with that. So I just wanted to say thank you to council, yourself, Mayor. It's been, one of the best councils I've worked with many councils, and quite frankly, you're very patient, you're understanding, and you support staff. And I think that's probably the thing that was most refreshing for me here, is the support that we get from council. To Deb, we have trucks ordered. We're waiting for them anxiously to come in. They are delayed. And yes, we have phenomenal staff here, and I'm so proud of the team that I've been part of and helped build. And I will miss this.
Well, we'll certainly miss you as well. Okay, thank you. I'd also like to highlight another award winner, Mr. Jeff Bunn. He is our manager of logistic services and our deputy city clerk, and he was awarded with the AMCTO award for our zone 3. It's a really big deal. Let's just say that if you're in that world, being recognized by your peers, it is really impressive, and we're so lucky. Unfortunately, he's not here tonight, or else I'd really make it awkward for him. But we thank every day that Mr. Bunn has joined us, and we're thankful to have him as part of Team Woodstock. So congratulations, Jeff, and thank you for everything you do for the city. Canada Day was mentioned already. Not a lot more to say. The opening ceremonies are going to be at 5:30. If you'd like to come down, there's going to be cookies going to be given out. Of course, excited for fireworks around dusk. And make sure you come down, enjoy. During the day, though, there is the kids zone. It starts at 2:00. So this is fun for the entire afternoon and evening. I know a couple of the bands very well, Blind Dog Joe being one of the best ones around, in my opinion, for a lot of entertainment. It's one I think everybody should be there. Two, Rob Cromwell is a phenomenal singer. If you haven't heard him, you want to hear him. And really excited for the rest of the act. So happy graduation. It was mentioned, but no matter if you're graduating grade 1 or grade 12 or more, enjoy your summer. You've worked hard all year, or at least I hope you worked hard all year. And again, be safe out there, everyone. Keep an eye out. Happy summer, and we'll see everybody July 10th. Do I have an adjournment? Councillor Wismer Van Meer, second by Councillor Leatherborough. All those in favor? We are adjourned. Thanks, everybody. Enjoy your night.